We come in peace. We look for and see the good in others. We train in mutual respect. Aloha e Malama Pono. Thank you for joining us for our training today. So we're going to work on something that's going to help you with tactical social distancing. So we're going to exercise a technique to both avoid and control a situation. So what that's going to look like eventually is going to be something like this. If Nate comes in with a straight right hand, if he comes in with the left, okay? Now we're going to evolve that in a crawl, walk, run. So the first part of that action is what we call a Pak Sau, which is in theory a parry or a palm technique as a deflection. But it's not really a block, it's more of a trap, it's more of a control technique. So what that looks like if we're all facing you in a neutral baizhang is we're going to pivot and press, pivot and press, pivot and press, pivot and press. So if you were looking at this from above, it would look like the shape of an almond or like a human eye, all right? And from your core to your extremity, you're actually using pressure to drive forward and in. So for example, if Kendall is striking Nate, note where Nate's hand is. As he comes in, he's at the elbow. He doesn't want to push at the wrist, because if he pushes at the wrist, then Kendall can still come in with another strike with the elbow or something else. So he wants to control his whole frame. So now that's the first action, is the Pak Sau. Our second action is the Tan Sau, and it looks like I'm serving you a very nice piece of cheesecake or pizza or something, right? So in this, you're going to be outside 90 degrees in structure, strong biomechanical structure. And then during the transition, you're clearing that center line. The feeling is to push outward. So it's not like an outward block action. It's more like the back of your hand is striking forward as if we were doing the chain punching. That's the feeling of it, all right? So now we Tan Sau, we transition in Tan Sau, we transition in Tan Sau, we transition in Tan Sau. Now if we put those two together, we get the Pak Tan. So that would look like this. If we're neutral in front of you, we're going to go Pak Tan. Rotating to the other side, we're going to go Pak Tan, Pak Tan, Pak Tan, Pak Tan. If we're going to build that one more level, we're going to add a third movement. But first, let's see what the Pak Tan looks like together. If Nate is over here in this corner and he's coming at me, I'm going to bring myself out of that target zone with my pivot. While I do that, I'm going to be trapping him by driving his own arm toward his center line. So as he comes in, Pak Tan. If he comes in with the other hand, Pak Tan. Now you saw the third movement, and that's that extra Pak Sau of a trap. So that's what we're going to be adding next. So let's take a look at that. So far we've done Pak Sau, and we've done Tan Sau, Tan Sau. Now we're putting the two together. Pak Tan, Pak Tan, Pak Tan. Now we're going to add a third movement to that. So that's going to be Pak, Tan, Pak, or Kum Sau. Okay, to pressure in. Pak, Tan, Pak, and that's going to be trapping them, leaving your other hand free to strike. Pak, Tan, Pak, and your other hand's free to strike. So now we're going to show you that in application. If Nate's coming in, I've got Pak, Tan, Pak. His other hand comes in, Pak, Tan, Pak. All right? So let's say I have more than one opponent. So Kendall's on this side and Nate's on this side. So if Kendall comes in with his right hand, if Nate comes in with his left, okay? If Kendall comes in with his left, if Nate comes in with his right, you can see the application. Now it doesn't have to be that they're striking. They could also be reaching with a single hand, or they could be trying to choke me or reach me with both hands. For example, if Nate's trying to reach me with both hands, if Kendall's trying to reach me with both hands, and so forth. Now to put this in a scenario that would be relevant for today's current events, they also could be trying to take something of mine. For example, toilet paper. So let's say that Nate notices that I have this lovely roll of toilet paper. So he comes in and reaches for it. And so does Kendall. Right? So if you think of it as Pak, Tan, Pak, as P for Pak, T for Tan, then the execution of this technique would look something like this. Nate comes in, I go P, T, P, T, P. Kendall comes in, P, T, P, T, P. So if we're facing you, that's going to look like this. Pak, Tan, Pak, toilet paper. Pak, Tan, Pak, toilet paper. So that way you can learn to put your PTP to your TP. We decided to share this with you this way because it's actually very healthy to have laughter and humor in difficult times. Mahalo nui loa for joining us. Malama, Pono, and Aloha.